So mine is kind of interesting because I've switched my focus a little bit, and I was focusing on the frequently changing curriculum in elementary schools. And I talked to my father, who's a teacher who has experienced this, but after talking to Ira Litt, who's a researcher here at Stanford School of Education, he said he hadn't really seen much evidence of that in the places he's worked, and so I decided it's probably located just in my dad's district, and so I wanted to focus on something a little more broad. So I decided to focus on how the changes have made the curriculum more narrow and more scripted. So I'm focusing on narrowing curriculum in the last decade and more scripted curriculum in the last decade in elementary schools. And so after talking to Ira Litt, he said that there has been a trend of narrowing and more scripted curriculum, mostly based on No Child Left Behind, and so much of what he had to say had to do with No Child Left Behind. But narrowing of curriculum specifically means they only really cover two main subjects, literacy and math. This is because even elementary schools are teaching more to the test, and state testing for elementary school students only covers reading and math. And even though there are still state requirements for science, social science, art, music, PE, which I did not know, because they don't teach them really anymore because they're not in the curriculum. So teachers aren't able to teach these because the curriculum has become so narrow. What also has to do with that is the scripted curriculum. So as well as becoming really narrow, the curriculum has become very scripted, and it tells teachers what to do. So like, you will do this for 8 minutes, and then you'll move on to your next lesson, and you'll say these 9 words to introduce the section, and it's really, really tightly scripted, so they don't really have the chance to make their own decisions or adapt materials to their classroom. So the biggest problem with this, again, is adapting new materials, because then you can't cater what you have to your students. The curriculum is written very generally. As Ira Litt pointed out, it's written for a general audience of elementary school students, so teachers who have students who may be lagging behind a little bit, or more advanced students, they can't cater to these individual populations. They have to kind of generalize everyone to become an average, which really hurts the students as well, because they don't get as much out of their education. And so it's very important to adapt your curriculum materials. I found this from Ira Litt, from my father, and from multiple sources from other researchers. And I'm still waiting to interview some other researchers here at Stanford in the School of Education, and as well as other elementary school teachers, because I'm interested to see what they think of this narrowing and more scripted curriculum. So the final thing I want to focus on is the deprofessionalization of teachers due to this narrowing and scripted curriculum. And so this is due to the fact that if they have a tighter script, can't make their own decisions, so they're not really given a professional responsibility to come up with new material on their own, and to adapt material to classrooms. And so this has a lot to do with new teachers coming into the system, there's been a great influx of new teachers in the last 5 years, and so teachers who come into the system with just this scripted and narrowed curriculum, they don't have the experience to create new materials for their classroom, and so it's kind of deprofessionalizing the entire career of being a teacher. So that's the final thing I want to focus on. So overall, I'm focusing on narrowing of curriculum in elementary schools, and that leading to very scripted curriculum, and then that leading to the deprofessionalization of teachers.
Thank you. Amelia.